Lieutenant Governor to the city today. She went and saw some of the programs that are happening in the community at FINA House, at the YW, right?
Yes.
Things that are really important to us. I mean, we have such a young community, young female community, so the work that the YW does and the work that FINA House does is really crucial to the overall quality of life that we provide in the city. So she got a chance to see those programs.
Yes, I was very happy to see them because we are trying to determine what's working in the Commonwealth relative to helping empower women to physical and economic security. And I was invited to FINA House. I really wanted to come and see the program there because it's a model that works in a continuum. So you could have a teenage mom or someone that is in a violent situation that needs to get out into emergency shelter, but then can seek permanent housing beyond that with all the support she needs for education, certificates, degrees, child care, and then learning how to budget and develop the skills to become a great mom and an independent liver. And so I was thrilled to be there, but also sort of overwhelmed that there is a lot of need still, very much so here in the greater Lawrence area, but across our Commonwealth. And I'm very pleased that Governor Baker has asked me to chair the Advisory Council relative to sexual assault and domestic violence. And today was the first stop of my listening tour to really understand what's working, what can we do better at, and how can we help more women to success.
Yeah, and then so after she had that experience in the community, she came in, we talked about a bunch of stuff, mostly giving her the background of the fiscal oversight board, where she was concerned. I mean, she was aware of us having a fiscal overseer, but how that came to be and some little background around that. But then talking about some of our needs and how we're focusing on the three things of public safety, jobs, and economic development, and then the turnaround plan with the schools. We talked a little bit about how that's going and the work they're doing in Holyoke. Then we just got into the nitty-gritty of the things that we need some help with. The Castro ruling around hiring police officers and how we're doing all we can to get that taken away, and maybe what role the administration can help us with that. And then talked about what's going on in and around the city, what Northern Essex has done, and how that, along with our desire to do ramp up public safety around this joint training facility with public safety and how that impacts everything else that we're going on. We did some visual stuff on where's the transportation in our community and how that impacts economic development, and we projected some of that stuff. So, and she, the Lieutenant Governor has been very thoughtful about how maybe they can help us out.
Well, you've got a very humble mayor. I was able to, when I was campaigning with then Charlie Baker, not Governor Baker, one of my first stops was at the inauguration of Mayor Rivera. And I sensed in the room that day a lot of energy and enthusiasm in this city for new and strong leadership to move the city forward. And I'm very humbled and honored to be here physically today with the mayor to talk about how we can partner and collaborate and take the next steps together. I am also very pleased that the governor's asked me to be that lead person to build that relationship between state government and city and town government. And Mayor Rivera has joined my advisory group and has been meeting with us over the past few months to help us shape the policies and the program about building stronger communities everywhere in the Commonwealth. And he has traveled into the State House so many times to our meetings. It's a pleasure for me to travel here to Lawrence, to be in his office today with his leadership team to really see how hard the leaders in this city hall and in this community are working for Lawrence and the greater Lawrence area. And for me to advise the governor and our cabinet how we can be a better partner to Lawrence. Clearly public safety is a very high priority for this city. If you are going to attract families and encourage them to continue to lay roots in this city, as well as attract employers that can hire graduates from the community colleges and the high school to really stabilize this community. Obviously, great schools. We need them everywhere. And with Jeff Riley and the team that you put together in your schools, you have great schools in every part of the city, which is really a great achievement. And then certainly having a capital improvement plan, that was something that we talked about, and making sure that we understand the vision going forward, the infrastructure needs, the physical needs that this city needs in order to attract employers, a workforce, housing, and really stabilize the neighborhoods within this city. The stronger that the city of Lawrence is, the stronger the greater Lawrence area is. And we want to just really learn how we can work better together to help the city achieve, and this mayor achieve his goals.
Yeah. Well, that compact that she was talking about is kind of cool because for a long time when administrations come to power, they'll tell you, hey, this is what we want. And this is how you got to do things if you want to access the support from the state. This is actually on its head. They're like, well, let's come to an agreement. You guys, we want these 7 things. What 7 things do you want from the communities? And so we're going to get into a relationship with them on a compact that says, as a partner, the state will do X if the cities and the municipalities will do Y. And so that's actually pretty exciting because it also says, hey, is some of the stuff that wasn't caught before around fiscal constraints under this new compact, there'll be some indicators saying, hey, wait a minute, the city and the municipality is doing something wrong here. It passes muster. You're not doing anything illegal, but you're putting yourself in a path that will be harmful for the community long term. So we're really excited about that.
Well, we want to view this as a positive relationship, and it is, and that we know the state can do better. You know, we shouldn't be passing unfunded mandates and asking our cities to pay for more that they don't have the resources to pay for. And on the other hand, we want to incentivize best practices and good fiscal management and good planning and forecasting. So we want to be able to identify what those best practices are by the city self-selecting what those are. We don't want to tell the city what's best, but the mayor will tell us what's best for the city. And then we will provide the technical assistance and resources to help them achieve that best practices. And then, you know, in terms of the larger grants, by signing a compact, the mayor will put this community in a more competitive position for the larger grants that are available to invest in the city. And we know when we invest dollars here in the city that he has a leadership team and a plan going forward, and that they will stretch and leverage those dollars to help the city of Lawrence. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. I'm sorry if I missed it a couple minutes ago. Could you tell me about the compact and what that means for Lawrence and how many other communities are involved?
Okay, so this is the early stages. We are soon going to launch the compact online.
Okay.
There will be a website where the cities and towns can go into and self-select the best practices that they want to achieve.
Okay.
And then
so there'll be a list of items that they can...
There'll be a list of suggestions,
okay.
And then the city may come up with its own best practice that they want to achieve. And then we, at the state level, will sign with them, provide them the technical assistance and the resources from our cabinet to help them achieve that goal. And we, at the state level, promise to continue to be good partners by, obviously, what we did, funding Chapter 90 aid, making sure that the school aid and the local aid is available, working with our legislative partners, and then not passing those unfunded mandates and more regulations that make it more difficult for the city to do business. So that's how we can be a better partner. And then the compact will soon be available for the city to sign on to. And I'm hoping that Lawrence is one of the first cities that will do that.
Yes, sir.
Were any members of the City Council Public Safety Committee present at that meeting?
Yes, we had the
At
police.
the police chief was at this conversation we had about the public safety center, but not
Not the City Council?
not the city council. Because it was just this, we just had it like 2 seconds ago.
Could you tell me a little bit about the conversation you had about the public safety center?
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of it is discussion about, you know, a real need for training in urban police training in this country to begin with. But if you boil that down in communities like Lawrence, the real need for police officers and well-trained police officers, so you don't have some of the things that happen on the national level. But that the Commonwealth is really ill-equipped to train up into modern-day staffing, and our lack of a facility is just one reflection of that. But I think also the time it takes to get trained officers on the street and the method we pay for those things is one of the things that we discussed. And you know, I think just, you know, a note that I told the Lieutenant Governor was, you know, you would be surprised that there are people that on the force that haven't had retraining on use of deadly force since they left the academy. And some of those guys is 15, 20 years. And so not till recently when Chief Fitzpatrick made everybody take 10 hours of the use of deadly force training, had they had training. So we're, luckily for us, almost 100% I'm not sure everybody's through yet. I'd love to say 100%. Almost 100% of all police officers have had recent use of force training.
When did that start?
Just recently, I think we have a press release on it. I think, I want to say, we released it 6 weeks ago, but I think that they started in August of last year. But that's the type of things we told her that we need, that why we need these facilities, and explain to her not only the public safety impact, but also the economic development impact, but also the ability to really position Lawrence as the Quantico for urban policing, but the Commonwealth for a leader in policing in general.
I do want to applaud the mayor and the police chief for recognizing the importance of public safety in every neighborhood, from Main Street to the outer boundaries of the city and beyond. You know, the safer the streets are in Lawrence, the better it is for the greater Lawrence area. And so we talked a little about the program around training police officers, because our officers who are out there every day have to confront situations that can be very dangerous and much more difficult and complicated than decades ago. And they need the training, they need the equipment, and they need to be prepared, whether it's a call, a domestic violence call, or it's a gang-related call, or whatever it is, they just need to be prepared. And beyond that, we did talk about the partnership with the community college and its presence downtown, which is a very positive influence in the downtown area, and whether or not there could be a facility that would involve both a training center and collaborating with the community college for the actual program of training officers, not only here in Lawrence, but in the Essex County area and beyond.
I have a lot of concerns about the police department. One is that we don't have sufficient Spanish-speaking officers to cover the community. And for example, the community policing department is made up of 3 officers. There are 3 Americans who don't speak Spanish, and they don't even live in the city. So I think that the rapport with the community is very poor.
Well, we did
Yeah.
talk about a decree
Yeah, I
that
know, and
does hand
that's-
tie the city in some ways, and we talked about ways that maybe we can help you break through
Yeah.
some of those barriers. But certainly the mayor knows this community very well and cares about everyone in this community, and especially a strong relationship between the police officers and the neighborhoods
Yeah.
in which they are policing.
Yeah,
And it needs to be a very mutual and supportive relationship in order for this community to get to where it wants to be.
Yeah, it's why we did things like we took out the complaint process out from the city hall, from the police department phone system. It's why we actually restaffed that whole internal affairs. We changed it to professional standards. It's why we, so there's a hotline now you can call for that. Everybody knows what the process is for giving complaints. It's why we've actually disciplined officers, and for reasons people haven't been disciplined in a long time. And so we're in that process, and it's a culture change. But more importantly, we've actually been in the communities. We've done at least 3 neighborhood efforts where we go door to door knocking when there's no problem. Police officers going door to door knocking and say, hey, we're in the neighborhood, just want to let you know, here's a text a tip flyer, here's also another way to report crime. We were able to actually shut down an after hours party because we went to a house that everybody in the neighborhood knew was an after hours place. And as going door to door, people identified it as that. And so we then sent in inspectional services to shut the place down, and we condemned the building. But those efforts, it's just a long process. I mean, there's a lot of mistrust that has to be overcome, but you do that over a long period of time.
One more question, please.
Any chance that we can request a list from civil service with only Spanish-speaking officers?
I think that the civil service process is really governed by law and in ways that.
But this is one thing that can be done.
So we're hand-tied by the caste rule. We can't do anything outside 3 to 1. So for every 3 is 1. So we are working hard. This administration, more than any other in recent time, has really dealt with this matter and hiring to diversity. I think that a lot of people talk about just, hey, let's do a big long list of Hispanic officers. It's one of the things that that's how you get yourself into trouble. So we're trying to work within the structure of civil service. Hey, what is allowed, what's not allowed to diversify when we hire? And then secondly, how do we get this thing done? And the reality is that civil service isn't the one that brought the lawsuit. It was the NAACP and another community organization. So they have to basically say no. They basically have to say, yes, we want to remove the lawsuit. it's a lot of convincing to do. They're not really sure that it's in the best interest of the minority community, and we're doing that effort. And I think a lot of people in their head think it's an easy process, but I think the more you rush a thing like this, the more you get yourself into trouble. And I think we've seen that in the past where mayors have thought, hey, I'm just going to change it. I'm just going to do whatever I want, and then you get into trouble. So we're being really thoughtful about that process. It's how you get the win in the end.
Well, thank you very much. We learned a lot today from the visit. It's nothing like coming into the city to be in the community, to really get a sense of the leadership and the goals and the passion, certainly that the mayor and his staff brings to the work that they do here at City Hall. And we look forward to the months and years ahead that we can work together for the greater good of Lawrence.